Hello and welcome to this week's Live Monday Music Motivation. I'm very excited because I am done with my summer travels, which I'm a little sad that I'm done with my summer travels. And it means that summer must really be starting to come to a close. But I'm excited because that means that I'll be back to regular Monday music motivations every single Monday around 9 a.m. Mountain Time. So it will not have any more weeks off, but I hope that you all had a good week off the past week that I wasn't here, and continue to fill out your practice journal and your practice template to make sure that you're having productive weeks of practicing every single week in, week out. And that's a big component of what I want to talk about today for your sort of inspiration and motivation. So while I was away, I was listening to the audiobook of Talent is Overrated by Geoff Colvin, which was a fantastic read. This one I could very arguably see should be kind of your first read as your foray into kind of deliberate practice and your understanding of talent and understanding of greatness and what it takes to become great. Speaking of that too, I have in the description a link to a page on Gregg Goodhart's website. You may have heard me talk about him before, who's a really good practice coach and really into this kind of learning science stuff. And he has a great page on his website where he suggests kind of different books to read, and Talent is Overrated is his top book on the list. And I think it's a reason that one's the first one on his list, because I think it is truly a great starting point to start to understand that talent is not as big of an influence as we generally think it is, and what it is that actually leads to greatness. So I want to talk a little bit about kind of a brief synopsis of the book, but again, I highly recommend checking it out and reading it for yourself, because there's a lot of really powerful ideas in there. But the little bit of motivation and inspiration that I want you to take away from it is to realize that talent truly does not exist. Probably. That's one of the big premises of the book, is that many people have studied talent, but none of them have found anything that truly means talented. All of the greats in any field, whether it's chess, golf, music, any of the fields, the people who have become great at it have done it through hours of intentional training. And that's kind of the big premise of the book, is that it's not talent that makes you successful or makes you great. It's experience, dedication, and specifically, most importantly, deliberate practice. And this is a slightly different definition of deliberate practice than what I talk about in the kind of plan, do, reflect cycle of deliberate practice, though that plan, do, reflect does count as a bigger picture of deliberate practice. But deliberate practice is a general idea of deliberately trying to improve and solving problems is what makes us better and what leads to greatness. And this is true. He went very in depth with examples of Mozart and Tiger Woods, where they seem like these incredible child prodigies, but at the end of the day, by the time they were doing their child prodigy type things, they had been working at it for years and years and years, and approaching the kind of Malcolm Gladwell's famous idea of the 10,000 hour rule, where they've done about 10,000 hours of work at it over 10 years. They just happened to start when they were 2 instead of 10 or 20 or 50 like some of us do. So it's all the same idea no matter what. There's no such thing as something that makes somebody more talented than somebody else. It's all about putting in the work and committing yourself. And I think that's a great, beautiful piece of inspiration to know that if I put in the work and if I keep filling out my practice template and showing up and practicing, and especially effectively practicing, then you're going to get those results that you want, and you're going to keep moving forward. Now, that effective practice part is really important to it, though. And this is another kind of caveat to the 10,000 hour rule, because you can certainly spend 10,000 hours doing something and not become one of the greatest in the world at it. If you think about this with something like driving, a lot of us have spent many hours driving, but we aren't necessarily pro drivers. And if you threw us behind a fancy car, we wouldn't be able to handle it very effectively. So it's not so much about purely just putting the time in. It's about putting the time in a deliberate practice way where you're always looking for growth, which comes back to the big idea and the big takeaway that I want you to have today is it's the struggling and the figuring things out and the micro problem solving that you do that makes your practice valuable. And I think that's a fairly significant mindset shift where in our sort of traditional model of being talented, we practice, and if we sound good, then we're like, oh, good, I'm good at this, and I know what I'm doing. And if we sound bad, we think, oh, I'm bad at this, and I don't have the talent to make it happen. But that's not the case at all. Where the value of practice comes from is doing things that sound bad and figuring out how to make them sound better. And as long as you're doing that in your practice, then over time, and it doesn't have to be a full 10,000 hours or a full 10 years, but you're going to be getting better as long as you're having the patience to do the stuff that sounds bad and work and figure out how to make that stuff sound better. And that's where the plan, do, reflect can be really valuable when it comes to deliberate practice. Is you, first of all, plan, big picture plan, and say, I'm not just going to play the stuff that's fun. I'm not just going to run through the easy stuff. I'm actually going to plan to tackle some of those hard things and play some of those things that I sound bad on, even though it doesn't feel great to sound bad. It's perfectly human to not enjoy sounding bad when we're playing. But planning, big picture planning, I'm going to do something that doesn't sound very good today, and I'm going to make it better. Then we get into the more micro deliberate practice, plan, do, reflect. And as you're doing it, then you reflect on it and say, okay, that sounded bad. Why did it sound bad? Why did it feel bad? What was I doing wrong? Reflect deeply enough that you can then come up with a plan to make it a little bit better. And it's that making it better, that struggling with the things that aren't going the way that you want and improving them, that's where the learning happens. That's where the growth happens. That's what talent is. Talent, this is a idea that just popped in my head, but I think it's a really powerful one. Talent is the patience to do the simple things perfectly, which, if you know the Friedrich von Schiller quote, only those who have the patience to do the simple things perfectly will acquire the skill to do the difficult things easily. Talent, the surface level, the evidence that talent is there, when we call somebody talented, it's because they can do the difficult things easily. So therefore, talent is in the patience to do the simple things perfectly. So do those simple things perfectly, and you'll get there. And I just read a whole book about how that process works and all kinds of different evidence and ideas that is the case for how greatness truly comes about through that deliberate practice and that incremental improvement every day. So flip your script a little bit. Practicing isn't productive when you're able to sound great. Practicing is productive when you're able to sound a little bit better and play a little bit better. And that may mean even simplifying things where maybe you can't do this rhythm at tempo, but if you can do it at half tempo and you can feel really good about it at half tempo, that's doing it a little bit better than doing it somewhat inaccurately at tempo. So that's my motivation and food for thought for you. There's the talent is Overrated. The title and the author's name is in the description, so you can check the book out for yourself, get it from your local library, or buy the book for yourself too. It would be a good one to own. There's also a link to Gregg Goodhart's website page that has the list of all the books for you to check out as well. And of course, you'll also find down there a link to the free members area where you can download your practice template. And it again just reinforces how important this kind of practice template idea is, and this showing up every week, putting in your practice time, scheduling your practice time. You can also make it for yourself. This is what it looks like. Date for the week, reflection of how things are going for you, goal for what you want to accomplish this week, and then your plan for when you're going to make that happen and what you're going to do in your practicing. And then you want to take that and put it in your calendar, put it in your schedule so that you actually commit to it and show up to it, because I now have even less doubt, in fact, basically no doubt, that it's showing up, doing effective practice, making those small improvements on the stuff that sounds bad, that's going to make you a great clarinetist and great musician. So keep showing up, keep scheduling it in your calendar, have a fantastic week of practice, and I will see you next week on the next live Monday Music Motivation.